the rates have continued to climb. Most of those rates are climbing because that particular owner's put a lot of money into the building. People go, wow, okay. It's more of a magnet than a mandate to get back to the office.
Is there a lifestyle outside? Is there a vibrancy around what happens before 8 o'clock or after 5 p.m.?
What is the attractiveness to corporations saying, we want to move our team, our employees, our base to Arizona? Unless you've been living under a rock, I think you have noticed that Phoenix is on the upward trajectory of growth. Now let's talk a little bit about what happens when it comes to different organizations, different companies that continue to see Phoenix as a vital option. Office, retail, industrial.
Yeah.
Who better to talk about just the growth path that we're on than Scott Maxwell, Executive Manager Principal and Market Leader at Cresa. Let me also say, our very good partner that helped us get to where we are today in HQ3 of Mark Taylor Residential's corporate office. Scott, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. And you created a wonderful office here. So you should be very proud of what you have here, and it's got to be exciting.
We talked about this off camera, JC. I'm gonna just plug a couple names from your team members.
Yes.
Feel free to say anything negative that you want to say to them, because of course they'll see it later. But big shout out to Corey Shepard and Brooke McKenzie, because speaking to a number of our stakeholders that were instrumental in getting us to this point, they could not say enough great things about both of those individuals.
Yeah, they're very good at what they do. So Corey comes from a construction background. He previously worked for Whiting Turner, so he came from the contractor side. He knows that element of it. Brooke came from the architectural background, and so she brings that element to it. So
I love it.
That team is they're amazing. They've done a lot of work for me and with me, and they're 2 of 14 that we have on the project management side of things. So
I was just going to say, before we dive in and I start throwing questions at you.
Yeah,
project management. The term project management, it's just such a wide scope.
Yep.
Can you share just a little bit? Cresa, and just the goals.
Yeah. So Cresa is the largest tenant rep firm in the nation. We are only on the side of the occupier, so people like yourself that want to go find space. So that is our goal, is basically make all our clients really happy. And we don't represent landlords. We don't go list buildings. We focus on just tenant rep. We're very good at what we do. And so, on the transaction side, I'm on the transaction side. I go find the space, but working with the project management team is critical, right? Because they ultimately have to work through the process of building it out. And what you guys did here is amazing, because you created something special. It's not like anything else in this building, right? It's your space, right? And that's really important, especially in today's age, of having something that people are proud of, that being your employees as well as clients coming in. So. But yeah, it's really fun to work with the various clients that we work with across the country. Cresa has 60 plus offices across the country, and so we're out doing this every day, whether it's industrial, whether it's some retail, but mostly office and industrial manufacturing as well. So it's a lot of fun. Everybody's different as to what they want, and we try to deliver that.
And what's your history?
I have a history of I've been a broker and with Cresa since 2008, so that's that. I moved to Phoenix in 1987, so not quite your 40 years that you guys have since 85, but I do remember the first couple projects that you had here in Scottsdale, and I went by them and I'm like, wow, that is cool.
That's great.
I think it was Saint-Tropez and San Marin,
yep.
Right? So I go way back to that day and age, which shows how old I am. But yeah, so I was in finance for a good 15 years. And so I financed resorts internationally and had a lot of finance background. That was with a company that was here in town, large company. And in 2003, I got my broker's license, started my own company. And then by 2008, I joined forces with Cresa and have been there ever since. So it's great. Like we have
thank you.
Journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Thank
fun.
you again.
The fact that you remembered San Tropez and San
Oh,
Marin,
it's yeah.
love it.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a place I couldn't live because it was just too nice. You guys do an incredible job of creating communities. It's interesting.
Very much appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's, if it's okay, let's hone in on office specifically for right now.
Sure.
Okay.
You bet.
So when you're speaking with companies, organizations, right, and they're giving you their vision, I guess you could say, right?
Yep.
How much does that tell you about their DNA or about their culture, even before you take that next step?
Yeah. I mean, working with companies, you want to learn as much as you can about them before you go meet with them, obviously.
Makes sense.
You develop a good rapport with who you're working with, but then it goes beyond that, right? Like this could be the corporate headquarters, but then again, there's certain clients that don't want their corporate headquarters to look like a Taj Mahal because they've got a lot of maybe warehouses and different things out across the country. So HQ is a little different than a regional office, right? And so you kind of play to what they need. You listen to their needs. Building something that has a lot of culture and their DNA around it is important. I think most importantly is figuring out the right architect, because the various architects there's a lot of great architects, but certain ones match up with different clients, and you have to marry the architect to the client and have them come in and pitch, and they're very creative, and so they come up with a lot of different things to like try to win you over.
Yeah.
And you go, wow. I've had clients go, wow, they get us, right? And it's not always the same architect, but we work with all of them, and it's really neat. So that ties into project management, right? They help facilitate that process. So it's picking the right architect, picking the right contractor, picking the right subs, making sure you can get it done on time, on budget. Creating that budget up front so you actually know what it's going to cost.
Sure.
And not just a guess, but like to really understand what the initial numbers look like and then negotiate around that. So that's very important as well. So
That's when my eyes got really big. Sticker shock.
Oh,
both at the front end and the back end.
Seeing it from start to finish.
Absolutely.
John, well, first off, I'm in striking distance of you again during this episode.
I like you.
Are you going to be nice to me this time?
Always.
All right, good. When you and our entire board, along with our full team that was just involved in this process, what priorities guided you to choosing, and how did Cresa support that process?
Well, I'll think about it in kind of two different buckets. So I would say from a build-out perspective, we wanted to identify the best-in-class partnerships. So and please help me if I miss. So, Cresa was a big piece of that, someone that could help really oversee, organize, support us. STG as the designer architect was incredibly important. And I think back to them sitting in our offices for the very first time. Our offices were built in the early 2000s, kind of a late 90s type vintage. And they really had to get to know us, as Scott brilliantly mentioned. They had to understand what our brand was, what we wanted to see. It's not something that they could actually visualize in our existing space at the time. So we really had to, go through that process of getting to know each other. Right. And I think they did a fantastic job of understanding our vision and really what we wanted to convey to the world with our new space. And then, of course, you got to execute. So we had to have Joe Cocky on the GC side really creating that. You had to have the right space, which I'll get into a second, with Stockdale and the Galleria. And, of course, identifying that space was important. Kevin Callahan and Seabury did a great job with really understanding our vision for that, which started in 2021. So 5 years later, here we are. And it was really identifying from an employee perspective. I wanted to ensure that they had a place they'd be proud of, and that when you talk about, engage with Mark Taylor, it would match that in terms of what you would expect to have. And there was always a bit of a disconnect, at least the last 5 years, with what people would see and what they thought of us. I think today it conveys exactly what Mark Taylor is, both historically and then futuristically. And it's also about the next generation of leaders. So I want to make sure that the folks today, the young folks, Alyssa, Brian, everyone that will build into Mark Taylor over time will be proud of the space long term. That includes walkability, location. Is it well balanced in terms of the valley? Can you get here fairly easy from the East Valley or West Valley? So location always matters. Is there a lifestyle outside? Is there a vibrancy around what happens before 8 o'clock or after 5 p.m.? Yes. So you can get coffee, you can get dinner, you can walk. I mean, I just love seeing different groups of employees walking to lunch.
Yeah.
That invigorates me.
It's been great.
Excites me. So all those things combined, 5 years later, here we are.
Have you tried the new gym downstairs?
Not yet. We're not quite in.
Okay.
So
All
we're
right.
getting that worked out, but the space
did a
is
nice
beautiful.
job.
Yeah, I can't
They
wait
did a great job with
to
it.
explore
Yeah.
it. Yes.
They took a
gorgeous.
space that was, probably not very leasable and created a great amenity for the project.
Well, let's just say this. I have no excuse moving forward not to finally get back into the gym, correct? All right, that's another conversation. That's another episode.
I agree.
Scott, the multifamily sector, we've definitely had an unprecedented amount of oversupply, delivery of units over the past several years, right? Office, I don't want to use soft, but ever since COVID, right, it's just been up in the air, trying to find another identity for office space. When you're speaking with owners, investors, how are you navigating this with them?
Yeah, I mean, I'm working on the occupier side, right? So I'm working with a client that's looking at various buildings. Vacancy's actually gotten a little bit better.
Right. Exactly why I said I didn't want to say soft.
In 2000, right, obviously pandemic created mass hysteria to like, are we ever going back to the office again, right? And I think the labor force at that time was shortly thereafter was basically at a point where the labor force could talk a little louder than maybe the employers. I think that's kind of the pendulum swung the other way. But it forced everybody to look at their space and go, what do we have, right? Do we have the right space for what we are doing? And how has the pandemic changed maybe, it changed a lot of people. It changed a lot of companies' trajectory one way or the other, right? So a lot of people did really well in the pandemic and a lot of people, didn't.
There was some pain. There was some pain.
Call centers, like, they're a huge office user. A lot of call centers, they started working from home and they found that these people are all on calls all day long. They can work from home. And they've got auto dialers and everything else, and they keep track of everything, and they know exactly how those people are performing at home. So that's what you saw, a lot of vacancy that was created because of call centers. And so, State Farm is a perfect example. They had down at Marina Heights, which is a beautiful building, but they ended up subleasing an entire tower to Carvana. And so anyway, the last 5 years has caused everybody to go, okay, what do we need as a company? And are we doing it right? And do we need offices? Do we need open area? Do we need, right? And so I think there's been a trend from a lot of exterior offices to more workstations and creating a lot more conference rooms, collaboration rooms, Zoom rooms, right? Who would have thought, that we'd be making Zoom calls or Teams calls like we do now? It's just part of the office environment now.
The evolution almost,
and,
right?
Yeah. And so you create all these rooms that you can utilize these functions in. And so that's part of the plan. So I think everybody, over the last 3 or 4 years, a lot of that sublease type activity that was going on because the entire call center was working from home and they've got 100,000 square feet sitting there. They're paying the landlord, so that's not vacancy. That's what they call there's vacancy and then there's availability in the market. And so that sublease, which is getting paid to the landlord, is tacked on to vacancy. So that entire number is considered availability. A lot of that sublease space is kind of either gone back to the landlord, they got it back finally, their expiration hit, and they don't need it anymore. And so that always played into the vacancy numbers even worse than what vacancy really said.
Sure.
Because vacancy is what the landlord's not getting paid on, right? So anyway, that the vacancy numbers, the availability numbers gone down because some of those subleases have gone back, and then vacancy's gone down slightly. But you know, the various owners, it really depends on how well they're capitalized, what they have into the property, right? When did they buy it? Did they buy it with a tenant in place, and maybe that tenant's not renewing because they don't need the space anymore? Like all those things are elements that cause heartache for landlords. Me personally, I want to make sure that the landlord's strong and able to perform, and that's paying the TI number that I negotiated to basically get my client in, that there's not going to be any problems on payment, all those kind of things. You know, we may ask for a year of free rent on a 10-year deal, and are they going to be able to weather the storm for the next year without getting any payment on the space that we're occupying? Another you know, potential is that you know, they still have operating expenses, right? So
Of course.
when most of these numbers are getting quoted at say $30 a foot or $40 a foot, or you know, we've got stuff on Camelback now that's in the 60s. So you know, the rates have continued to climb. Most of those rates are climbing because that particular owner's put a lot of money into the building, and he's created elements much like the gym downstairs, or things that people go, wow, okay. It's more of a magnet than a mandate to get back to the office.
Right.
That's, you know, I have a client that basically that was his coin phrase, was he goes, I want it to be a magnet. I don't want it to be a mandate. I want people to come.
Exactly.
I want them to come to the office because they really enjoy being at the office.
Yeah.
And they don't want to be sitting home, you know, looking at laundry or whatever you do at home, you know, while you're working 8 hours a day.
I think, yeah, two things. One, yes, you
Productivity,
want to be here for
yes.
productivity, right? So you want
Absolutely.
your employee to want to come in.
Yeah.
And then two, you have to create an attractive space so that you can attract a talent on the go forward. And that's really important, to make sure that you have a continuous cycle of quality employees coming in
Absolutely.
to support your growth.
Without a
Big
doubt.
piece is that collaborative factor, right? Feeling it throughout the
question.
building. So I'm going to ask this to both you guys. Arizona has always been a destination location, in my opinion, right? For many people. But when it comes to larger, notable corporations, we were just talking about Dutch Bros a little bit ago, right?
Yep.
TSMC, Amcor, the LG plant. Besides the obvious, climate except for the summer, right?
Yeah.
Affordable in comparison to the rest of the country.
Right.
What is the attractiveness to corporations saying, we want to move our team, our employees, our base to Arizona, Phoenix specifically?
Yeah. You know, we do a lot of site selection work and do it nationally, right? Where Phoenix may be one of the cities that they're potentially entertaining. You know, Texas gets a lot. I'm not going to say they're better incentives, but they've got some incentive work that they do there that they win business, right? Plano just wrote a big check for AT&T to have them move up to Plano. So we are in the game, right? GPEC is probably the best economic development group.
So glad you mentioned them.
Right?
Absolutely.
So Greater Phoenix Economic Council is amazing. They're very good at what they do. We're a member of that. ACA is
great too.
as well, right? So ACA does a great job. Obviously, legislature has to continue to provide the incentives to get there. We've always had enough to get people here. You know, we've been very fortunate. I mean, you guys have been around since 1985. I got here in 1987, and you know, we've always been like in the top couple, you know, positions as far as growth. And I got here as like 1.1 million people, and now it's 5.86, right? Like so, you know, 5.8 million people, and it still feels like a fairly small town, right? It's a really interesting place to be. A lot of Midwest transplants. there's a lot of elements of Phoenix that are just not like any other place in the United States. And, we've got the Phoenix Open. We've got, we did have all 4 sports, and, maybe we get hockey back. I don't know.
Hockey back,
3 years
please.
left.
Yeah.
Please
Yeah.
bring hockey back.
Yeah.
JC, how about you? Anything different from your perspective?
I mean, all great things you mentioned. I think the pro-growth movement that we saw post-GFC 2008,
Right.
I think the state got to work, and Phoenix Metro included, on how to really, through legislation, become an attractive pro-growth business state.
Right.
A lot of credit to that time frame, Governor Ducey and ACA, GPEC. So, we restructured some things. We became very tech forward. So you think about, there's reasons Waymos are driving around. There's reasons that there's a lot of capital chasing Phoenix.
Yep.
I would say the elevation of ASU being an innovation type technology university, what Michael Crow's done, STEM, research, all of those things, the bio. So I think expanding campuses into downtown really helped downtown kind of take that next leap.
It saved it.
Yeah. So U of A, ASU, go down the list.
Yeah.
Grand Canyon's a phenomenal university. If you've not attended a basketball game,
Diamond in the rough.
unbelievable. So I think
Absolutely.
that ties to labor and workforce. We talked about Dutch Bros. You have to have the right labor education systems to support the corporations of tomorrow. So all of those are factors.
Yeah.
And I just think it's a great place to live. And every year you have the Waste Management Open. What a sales pitch when the weather's right? I mean,
And this year is
why do you want to go back
We've
to the
been
East
lucky the
Coast
past
and
couple,
dig out of the snow?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Scott, we were talking. You mentioned this in a previous question, just on cost incentives and how regulations matter here, right?
Yep.
Especially in office space. Have you seen commercial real estate, the relocation and expansion strategy? Has this evolved over the past 5 years, or has it stayed pretty consistent?
Yeah, last 5. Again, it was kind of 2010 to 15 when all of a sudden we started looking. 2008 hit, and I think a lot of people said we have to focus on other things other than just construction, right? Like we have to have some other facets that keep us going. And I think that ACA and GPEC did a good job of focusing on groups to bring in that would add to that. Technology is one of them. The fintech bill that they had.
movements, yes.
They just opened the doors for a lot of companies. And then we've had a lot of incubators, right? A lot of people have grown a company here and been very successful. And so that's always great to see. But yeah, it's I think we are very attractive. Cost of living is getting a little high, right? It's not high, but it's getting
changed.
It used to be very affordable,
Yeah.
right? And it's not as affordable, but it's still better. Regulatory wise, we're very pro business, as you said, right? So you look at where people are coming from, or companies are coming from. We've got a lot of international, and that's highly dependent on people like TSMC, right? LG, those are bringing in all those suppliers that supply them and provide them services. They're all coming around it, right? So you got TSMC sitting at North Phoenix, and Deer Valley is, from an industrial standpoint, has just blown up to everything's gotten a little bit more expensive. And then people go, okay, well, if we're not going to be there, where can we be, right? And the one thing that's, the universities are amazing, and that always checks the box. So anybody who's looking at us, they say, okay, check, right? We got great labor force, a lot of young people that want to go into, obviously, employment. But our infrastructure, when I got here, it was basically I-17 and I-10, and they met up, and you either went to Tucson or you went to LA, and that was it, right? So like the 101, the 202, now the 303, and I was looking at basically the wall where you have all your locations, and you look at where those locations are.
Following.
It's all the arterials that have been created, and you guys are doing a great job, because that's where people want to be able to get on an arterial and get to where they need to go.
Right.
And we are a transitory group here in Phoenix because it's so spread out. There is not necessarily an urban core. I think downtown's getting better, but that was highly dependent on the universities going down there, right? First the nursing school, then the law school, and then U of A had to come in, and then no, I'm just kidding. And then so there's a lot of activity downtown with the restaurants and the bars and the different things that, I mean, if there wasn't a Suns game or something going on downtown or a Diamondbacks game, it was closed up at 6 o'clock, right? Like
Sidewalks rolled
people
up.
couldn't make it down there as a restaurant.
Right.
Now it's vibrant, it's fun, right? It's First Fridays, all that kind of good stuff. So
Being able to ice skate in the middle of winter during Christmas in downtown, come on. Yeah. That's a lot of fun. Have you seen multifamily shift at all? At just, going, it's what we're sharing from office and industrial?
I would say multifamily so I think it ties to, as you mentioned, it's the infrastructure build out that matters a lot. So we've always chased as a developer jobs and freeways, really important piece.
Absolutely.
And as you said, you notated the map. You see that happening with our managed assets. I think that's a piece of it. I think the neighborhood nodes are so uniquely placed in Phoenix Metro versus other major metros. If you go to New York City, it's really Manhattan. If you go to Dallas, it's uptown. So it's expanding, but there's so many great places to live, and you can select that if you want to have, the great family life. You can go to Surprise or Gilbert or Chandler. Yeah. If you want nightlife and restaurants, that's expanding, but you can go to Old Town or North Scottsdale or downtown or
now Gilbert,
Biltmore or Gilbert, downtown Gilbert, downtown Chandler. So there's so many pockets to go to that I feel like there's so many options that you really can't put an X on your list if you're exploring a place to go, whether you're corporations or individuals. You can say, wow, a lot of this checks the box for me, whatever that looks like. So we just have a lot of variety in terms of that. We haven't even talked about the Mayo Clinic. And if you look at that footprint, outside of TSMC and City North, so there's so many things here from an investment perspective. There's so much money and capital chasing Phoenix. The success really, I think we're kind of in a lull from a jobs perspective. Obviously, we've had two lackluster years for jobs. And we need to get back to that 60 to 70 to 80,000 jobs a year. Right. And I think if we can get through this AI boom, understand what that looks like from a labor perspective, and then see this manufacturing boom play out, we'll be really successful as a metro. But all things, point to success here long term. Right.
I'm bullish. I'm confident it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Let's. You mentioned you had a client that said, I didn't want it to be a mandate, wanted it to be a magnet, right? So when you're talking to different corporations, how much are you encompassing just the full ecosystem, not just the job alone, not just the office of where they go to, but their lifestyle, where they live in relation to wherever their office is located? Right. Are these conversations that are happening more often?
Yeah. Couple different things on that note. When you start looking for an office, right? Obviously, you do a scattergram of the current employees. Like you guys were probably the center of the target as far as at Lincoln and Scottsdale Road, where you have been for a long time, right? And so what you want to do is you want to kind of look at where those people live, and then when you guys came south 4 or 5 miles, it wasn't materially different than where you were before. Getting over to the 101 and probably actually easier.
It saved me 15 minutes going to Chandler, I'll tell you that much.
And that's so it's going to be beneficial to some people, right? So you look at where the center of gravity is and you try to figure that out. And so, that's part of it. But the location and the surroundings is obviously very important. You guys have made a material shift in like all the amenities that you have here. Lincoln has amenities there, but they're usually across the road or,
of course,
mostly restaurants. Right now, you got a lot of things going on down here, especially with the Giants playing spring training here. Right, there's a lot of things that you can go do from a cultural standpoint. Of hey, let's take a team over and go to the Giants game, and you can walk over.
Literally walk there.
Right. Yep. So. And grab lunch on the way, and there's just so many things to do in Old Town, and like you said, after work, before work, all that. Then there's another element of it is what are landlords doing to entice you to want to come to their building, and they're creating more amenities, right? So taking space that might not be as leasable, I'm sure it's leasable, but at what cost? They might say, okay, we're going to convert this to a training room, and now you have a state of the art training room in the building, and you don't have to build one out yourself. So that's where some of this is going, is landlords are creating a lot of amenities. Now, if you want them in your own space, and maybe that building's not for you, right? Like if you're not going to use it, you're still paying for it because there's a load factor that's assigned in addition to the the four corners of your space. There's a load factor that's tied to basically all of those amenities. So if it works for you, it's great. If you're not going to use them, then you don't need to have that. But that's what's happening is the landlords that have the capital, they're investing in their buildings and they're driving rates. Whereas if someone's not doing anything to their building and just kind of letting it be whatever era it's in, hopefully it's, in the last 10 years they've done some upgrades, but some of those buildings are getting a little tired, and those are the ones I worry about is kind of the lower B's and C's, whether or not those will make it. And they're demoing, they're demoing a couple of office buildings to build industrial, right? So industrial, those rents have almost gotten to where some of those C-class buildings are currently at as far as rates, and they're like, you know what, we're going to scrape it. And we're gonna build industrial.
Yeah, it feels a bit K-shaped, right? If you're building a building in a A or B plus location, you're gonna get the $40, $50, $60 in rent.
Right.
I worry about the back office call center buildings that have availability and vacancy.
Yep.
I don't know what you do with those from an investment or.
There's down in Tempe. There was one that was. It actually was a pretty decent call center type building, and they scraped it and put in a new industrial building. So
it's also a tribute to, I'll say, the growth of our collective jobs, meaning the quality has improved dramatically.
Yeah, the demand on the industrial side has sparked. If you look at, and we won't go too far into industrial, but at the beginning of last year, there was seven buildings that were over 1 million square feet. At the end of the year, there was less than 2. Right, like Amazon just bought one, so now there was one, right. and everybody thought everything was overbuilt because in the last 3 years they built 35, depending on what time period you take, but 35 to 50 million square feet of industrial space. We have absorbed it, right? And so
Dallas was maybe the only other close to that.
Yes,
in that time frame.
Yes. Yeah, we started kind of 2000 at kind of that 400 million range, and so to add 50 million, that's 12%, right? Like it's a sizable increase in our total square footage. So, yeah.
I'm gonna I have 2 last questions, but this one I'm gonna ask to both of you, of course, too. So, when it comes to the leaders that are making decisions for their organizations, not just for location, but also culture, what mindset do you feel they need to have to make smart, lasting decisions that benefit their organization and the people that fill it?
I can go first to give Scott a break. I think
he's been doing great, though.
I know. You have to think long term. You have to take every input known to you. You have to really forecast and think about what direction your company's going, how you plan on growing as an organization, what direction you're shaping. Are you making one widget? Are you doing 10 different things? Are you moving into consulting? There's a variety of things that you can do within your business construct. So I think all of those things matter, and you could still get it wrong. So I think you have to really think, and we talk about being infinite all the time, your infinite journey. So this space specifically was built for that, meaning we want to be here long term. We like the partnership with our landlord in Stockdale. We love the space, the location. We believe in Old Town. We believe in Scottsdale long term, obviously Phoenix Metro. So all of those things came into play. Availability of workforce, education. So we feel like we're at the center of that. You mentioned center of gravity. I really like that for our employees. So you can still live in Surprise and Gilbert. Yes, it's more of a commute, but we have access to the entire valley as the hub of Mark Taylor.
As we can continue to expand our infrastructure just on the highway side, I mean, I can't wait for the construction to get done in the Southeast Valley. It's just I'm gonna get here so quick. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Scott, how about you?
I think you have to be flexible. I mean, there's so much going on with technology and everything else that you have to be able to make moves. You have to have several alternatives as far as managing a group of people. We're great at what we do, but there's elements that will always affect your job, your industry. So it's my advice would be just to remain flexible. And a lot of people get focused on a certain thing, and a lot of times they don't open their horizon to say, wait, how can this help me, right? They think the world's falling, the sky's falling, the world's going crazy. The world's always going crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
That's never going to stop.
It's not really affecting you.
Right.
Right? And I think people need to do that more often, to just kind of sit back and go, you know what? I think I'm going to be all right. Right?
What a perfect position to say what we're grateful for to close this episode,
Yeah.
right? To sit back and just, you know what? Everything's okay.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm grateful for. Before I ask that question to both of you, though, and what a horrible friend I am to you, Mr. Carlson, that I never asked you, was there one thing during this 5-year process that kept you up at night? Because you always are looking forward, which is what we love about you. Was there anything that transpired that you can pinpoint that you're like, maybe I shouldn't have made that decision?
I mean, one thing, certainly not, because there were several. So wasn't just one thing. We had a vision for this. Executing on it was really important. We had to use a lot of different partnerships, and it was a lot of extra work, a lot of ghost hours, a lot of time and effort. And, when you get here, you got to just take the win. You got to just, it's never going to be perfect. Somebody's going to complain about something. Most people are going to enjoy it and love it. And I think that's where when I saw people walking in for the first time with smiles on their face, walking around the space saying, oh, we get to work here.
Yeah.
It was really all about the employees carrying forward the brand long term. And it was a big decision for us as an organization. And so I'm grateful for everything around how this culminated. I'm jumping ahead, but I'm really grateful for what efforts went into this collectively. Like, there's so many individuals. I could spend hours talking about who participated and supported it.
Huge.
So here we are.
It's huge. It's huge. Scott, what are you grateful for today?
Oh boy. So grateful for great clients, right? I
Certainly helps.
I love having great clients, and I don't have I don't have too many bad ones, but I'm grateful to be able to walk into a space like yours and see the people being proud, right? Like that's the best part of my job, is at the end, all of a sudden you go, wow, it's all done. It came in on time, came in on budget, probably came in better than what we thought, right?
Yeah.
And a move affects everybody, right? So every single person, it's either a shorter distance, maybe it's a little longer distance, right? But at the end of the day, they had to kind of uproot where they have gone for 20 years or 15 years or however they've been with the company, and made that move, right?
Yes.
And so embracing something new, I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for my family. I have a wonderful son and daughter and wife. Just celebrated my 30th anniversary with my wife.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, it's been a great ride. I got here in 1987, and it just keeps on going. So,
Answer quickly. Who's your favorite, your son or your daughter? Just kidding. Don't
No,
answer
my
that.
gosh.
well,
dude,
my
you're gonna
my
put him on
daughter
the
was
spot.
born on
On
my
your birthday?
Yeah, so we share the same birthday. So that's May 23rd, and my son was born on July 23rd. So we're all 23rd.
That's my mother's birthday.
July 23rd.
Absolutely. And she will
Very
not
nice.
hesitate to tell you that my younger sister is her favorite child.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Sorry, Mom.
I think favorites change day to day.
Yes, they do.
Yes, it
Absolutely. I'm going to say you mentioned this. There's just a litany of people, individuals, organizations as well that got us to where we are today. Right. I want to give just a special shout out to Chris Madison, to Alyssa Leahy. I watched those two really just dig in and get done everything that needed to be done. Sometimes there was a little extra stress, right? Mm-hmm. They still kept a smile on their face. Leahy, I'm going to say this. You didn't throw anything at me, nor did you want to cause me any pain. At least I didn't see that you did. Both of you guys from top to bottom, just want to say thank you very, very much.
There's little things like that. You can't put a price on
Nope.
Madison's knowledge and understanding and relationships. So knowing he's worked with Cresa before in past lives, so these are things. Yeah, those guys are great. I know they will meet our expectations as an organization.
Yep.
So yeah, kudos to those two.
And I have the privilege of sitting, officing right next to Chris Madison. So trust me, he tells me when I'm doing something that is outside of the rules and doesn't hesitate to put me right back in line.
I ask him to do that.
And I need it. Yeah, I'm sure you did.
I didn't have to.
I'm sure you did.
Guardrails? Come on.
Come on, guardrails, let's go.
No.
Scott, really do appreciate
What are you grateful for?
Oh, I was to Alyssa and to Chris Madison.
All right, there
yes,
you go. Okay,
Absolutely.
all right.
The full organization.
I tend to fade away when he talks too. It's okay. I understand.
Do I have that kind of voice?
Huh?
No, you do not.
Scott, just want to say thank you again for joining us. Really appreciate it. Thank you for the partnership. Thank you for helping us get to where we are today. Couldn't have done it
You're
without
welcome,
you.
and I appreciate being here.
And for everyone, if you are planning on moving your office space, industrial, whatever it may be, and you need a project manager, someone to help guide you, hold your hand,
Absolutely.
please call Cresa. Please call. Multifamily Forward, presented by Mark Taylor Consulting. We'll see you on the next time.